And I think that would be fair.
We bring in the Southern Belle, Mina Kimes, host of the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny. You just did first take, so is this second take, Mina? I think it is.
Stugotz.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard that sound.
First take. That's the sound I make when I hear first take. Yeah, hot takes.
Second take.
Well,
second take.
Speaking of reheated takes, Tony had his top 5 earlier, and among the top 5, he mentioned 3 buzzsaws, Mina. 3 buzzsaws. His buzzsaws were neither of the undefeated teams. It's the Ravens, the Lions, and the Texans. But the confusing part about all this is he made it sound like buzzsaws actually cut other saws. So do you know what a buzzsaw actually does?
I assume a buzzsaw is just electric saw, right? Like
I've got it as a
saw, but
circular
it has
saw.
power, so it goes. I don't think it has to be a circular saw.
So it could be just any kind of power saw, electronic saw that cuts through other saws?
Buzzsaw is one of those great words, though, that we only use to describe NFL offenses in particular.
Thank you.
You're right.
Scary.
Yes.
Right? Like what have you ever heard someone say, Mina Kimes coming on, what a buzzsaw? Or my candidate is a real buzzsaw.
My neighbor's a real buzzsaw.
I think Jeremy has the final answer for what a buzzsaw does.
Another term for circular saw.
There we go.
That is the literal definition.
Has to be circular?
Yeah,
It does, yes.
It's the only thing about it, apparently.
Shapists.
But Mina's right. We only say buzzsaw as it relates to football. Like, that's it. No one ever says buzzsaw, do they?
No, I think it's...
I'm going to go buy a buzzsaw today.
Nobody had a high-scoring NBA
true.
team. Nobody
Yeah.
says buzzsaw.
I would say,
That
for
they're a
example,
buzzsaw.
like the elves walked into a buzzsaw with the Uruk army and Rings of Power.
Interesting.
I want to think
know what
about
any of that
that.
means.
You call fighters buzzsaws. You can have a buzzsaw fighter.
Right. No, you're right. Like a college basketball team could be walking into a buzzsaw, you know?
You
Cameron
walk into
Indoor.
a buzzsaw.
Yeah, you walk
Cameron
into
Indoor.
one,
So
right?
disgusting if you actually really imagine what that would look like.
So what do you
Right,
think
one or
about
more.
his 3 circular saws, the Ravens, the Lions, and the Texans?
They're good. Tony's come a long way. Can I say that?
Yeah.
I've followed you on your
victory
football
lap.
taking journey. I don't know when it really started, maybe a few years ago. And I like the fact that you're looking outside of records and actually, I think that's a pretty good. I realize I sound incredibly pedantic. I feel like this whole thing sounds so patronizing.
So pedantic.
I'm trying to compliment you and say
No,
that I
I
agree
hang
with
around
your take.
Pablo too much.
It's true. Oh, God knows that's true.
No,
Mina
but-
doesn't need to hang around Pablo. She's smarter than Pablo.
Well, that is true.
Wow.
No, Mina, I feel it and I appreciate it. You've been on my football taking journey. You've helped me along the way. So yes, I credit.
I can
to...
tell you've been putting in the work.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, everything about Tony is perfect. Everything about him is wonderful, and his top 5s are great, and his tiers are great, and we should be praising
guys,
Tony.
Super
guys,
pedantic.
Okay,
guys,
wait. So
guys.
that's a picture of a buzzsaw. Why is there blood on it? What are they doing with that saw?
So pedantic.
That's
that
what
song.
happens. You walk into a buzzsaw, you start bleeding. I mean,
It's a Ravens offense right there, Mina.
Is that blood or is it just a red saw?
It's like blood.
Raw. I don't know. I saw it differently.
Mina, I'm disappointed because that's not a good take by Tony. If you really want to stand out, you and I have had these conversations before. What you need to do is do what I did a week ago and say the Bengals at 1-4, best team in the NFL, going to the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
That's the way
You
you
don't
do
believe
it.
that. You don't believe that.
I do believe that.
Let me ask you a question. Who of the 2 and 4 teams, who
like this.
do you think has a better chance of winning the Super Bowl, the Jets or the Bengals?
The Bengals.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the stand by his take, Mina.
Yeah, man.
I have
Bengals
to.
defense is really bad, Stu.
Yeah, I know, but once I make the take, you can't talk me off my position, Mina.
Have you ever been talked off of a position?
Never. No.
Not once.
I don't think so, no.
I mean, you see what LeBron James is currently doing. He's not even coming close to approaching Michael Jordan status. You can't talk him off of anything.
I love when my mind is changed. I know that I don't know if that sounds, I don't know, like self-congratulatory or whatever, but sometimes fans will come at me and say, wow, you were, super critical of Josh Allen in the draft, famously for me on this show. And I love the fact that he proved me wrong. I love watching him play football. I thought the Washington offensive line was going to tank this offense, and obviously I'm dead wrong about that, and I love it. I love watching Jaden Daniels cook. I know I feel like I'm kind of going what's his name, Hayden Christensen in turning up against my mentor here. Stu was my Obi-Wan of takes. Really went to Hayden Christensen. It's the stupidest, weirdest metaphor possible. But I do feel like one of the greatest pleasures of talking about football has been when players change my mind.
Mina, which team got better this past week? Was it Buffalo or the Jets?
The Jets got better, but the Bills, I take more seriously because of it. The Jets were more desperate, I felt, right? Like they really, in part because that offense, is so dependent on having like a truly good skill players. It's based on timing. It's based on communication. Obviously, that's been off with Rodgers and the receivers. Some of that is Rodgers' fault. Some of it is the nature of the offense. But the only fix I saw was bringing in a Davante Adams, and it's going to help a great deal. That said, the Bills are a better football team, and I loved the acquisition of Amari Cooper. I just didn't feel like they had as much of a gap that they had to close. So they improved less, but they're better.
So with Davante Adams, is it just a familiarity thing with Aaron Rodgers? You said the nature of the system. And does that mean that Aaron isn't really as good as we think he is? It's just the receivers that are on the same page as him?
I think, especially at this point in his career where he's not as mobile and he's less likely to create, it is very important for Aaron Rodgers to trust his receivers. That ball is coming out fast. And that trust, what you're alluding to, it's something that is developed over many years. So some of it is, like when we talk about chemistry between a quarterback and receiver, much like human chemistry, it can be kind of hard to describe. But the way I would characterize it for Rodgers is knowing that his guy is going to be in the right place at the right time and then make a play. And that has just not been the case consistently, even with Garrett Wilson, who's an amazing receiver. He's so talented, but clearly it hasn't been there.
Mina, another part of my top five, number one, was actually it's over in Dallas. That was more of my Stugotz coaching tree. It was like, it's over. They don't have an identity. They can't run the ball. Their defense isn't good. Like, things are just off in Dallas, right?
And I think that would be fair.
Thank you.
I think that would be fair.
Happened to your
say,
accent?
I agree. I kind of softened it a little bit. I tried to do a light something. Yeah, you're right. I do think it's over. I mean, that run defense is just a non-starter. Even if the offense looked better, and they don't, and I think there's a multitude of reasons for that. You can't win in the NFL consistently if you can't defend the run in Dallas. There's no solutions on the horizon for them.
How big of a loss is Aidan Hutchinson for the Lions? Are they still contenders without their best defensive player?
They're still contenders. They need to make a move. And I think they will make a move, but it's a massive loss because not only because Aidan Hutchinson was having incredible season, Defensive Player of the Year stuff, led in both traditional and advanced metrics. He's really all they have at edge. They've been able to get pass rush on the interior, but like for example, Hutchinson before he got hurt had 40 pressures. There's not another edge rusher on the Lions roster with more than 7. They lost Marcus Davenport, who they brought in. They are bereft there. I do think they're going to be aggressive because they are very aware this is their chance, not the only chance, but they have a great chance to contend because of that offense. So I think that they're going to be active.
Can the Raiders be sellers here? Can we see Max Crosby maybe moving over?
Ooh, wow.
I think they're sellers. They're obviously sellers, right? They moved Adams. I have a hard time seeing them move Crosby because he's really like the face of the franchise, right? Even when you look at not tanking teams, but really, really bad teams who are sellers, which is kind of a euphemism for tanking if you think about it. They don't move off of their core guy. Like if you drive around Vegas, he is the face of the marketing. The owner would have to sign off on that, even if it was for a massive package. And I would be very shocked if Mark Davis was willing to do that.
Mina, Chris, I hate you. He just said massive package out loud right as I was about to start
What
talking.
happened there? I mean, it's important.
Okay. Mina, I heard you yesterday say that you weren't sure why the Steelers were considering playing and starting Russell Wilson this weekend, given that he hasn't really been great in the last couple seasons. Yeah. And Chris.
That's on me. I was talking to Chris.
Come
there.
on, man. Chris is a shade of red that we love
Let
to
her
see.
talk.
And I agree.
Is this all because of massive package?
Yeah,
Yes,
it is. And pedantic. I agree with you that I don't understand the move. However, I also have watched a lot of the Steelers this year. I've watched every game, and Justin Fields really hasn't been great. How do you quantify the different levels between the two quarterbacks because neither is a perfect option. I think Justin Fields obviously is able to move outside of the pocket a lot better and use his legs, which Russ isn't, and the Steelers' O-line has a ton of injuries. But both probably aren't great, so I don't know what to make of this choice.
Yeah, there's no real good answers on the roster, to be honest. My take was less born of Justin Fields has proven himself and he deserves a job and look at his record. It's more, I watched Russell Wilson play football in 2023, and I kind of feel like a lot of people did based on some of the takes I'm seeing floating around because we always talk about how the best position in sports is like the backup quarterback, right? Because the fan base roots for you and they want you until you come in and they get upset with the starter. And I think that dynamic is at play here. The defense of this move that I've seen, or the argument in favor of it among Steelers fans, is that, well, it can't be worse. Yes, it can, guys. Like, I watched the Denver Broncos last year. It could absolutely be worse. I've seen like cherry picked in the red zone. He was better. No, I'm telling you, that offense was checking it down, taking sacks, occasionally cool deep shot. And maybe he can be better than he was last year, but that tends not to be what happens with older quarterbacks. And look, I don't think Fields has played particularly well, but I think what he brings in the QB run game, which, is not what Russell Wilson is capable of at this point in his career. Mike Tomlin said as much. For me, that's enough of a difference. For this move to be defensible, Wilson would have to be significantly better than who he was in 20. I'm not even talking about 22. I'm talking about 2023, and that just seems unlikely, but we'll see.
Mina, through 5 or 6 weeks here, is it crazy for me to say that Baker Mayfield is the NFL MVP?
Yeah.
Why?
The MVP? I thought you were going to say, like, good, and I was ready to
MVP.
say
No,
that stands for, right?
No one means more to his team than Baker Mayfield means to the Bucks. Maybe Crosby to the Raiders, maybe Spags to the Chiefs.
We have to be hyperbolic. We can't give a take that someone's good at. They have to be the greatest.
Guys, he's had a great year. I mean, come on.
He's back.
Sometimes I feel like, you know how like on those refrigerator word magnets games that you have like the words. Sometimes I feel like you look at a bunch of, like, you have like a bunch of players and some words, and then you just kind of at the last second throw up like player MVP. Yes. I can't. Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's.
I take one word from Group A, one from Group B, one from Group C, and I stitch it all together on the fridge. Yes.
You should play a game where we do like a player, a verb, and an adjective, and then you make Stugotz defend the combination.
No, it's too easy.
No matter what it is.
Too easy. That's a piece of cake for him.
It is. Yes.
Too easy? Okay,
Yeah.
well, if you guys have the technology to do that, you should do it.
No chance.
He's not done more for his. He's played well. I was like excited to. Yeah, I'm on board with the idea that he's played well, but he's played well with Mike Evans and Chris Scott. Like, he's not doing the most with the less. I mean, he has also not played as well as the likes of C.J. Stroud, for example. I think has been better. Lamar Jackson has certainly been better. Just a couple players who come to mind. So I would not put him in that conversation.
All right.
I mean, I have to ask you a Travis Kelce question. Now, I haven't seen this myself, but I'm told in the latest season of Love is Blind, somebody said that he looked like Travis Kelce, which famously, or actually no, infamously, last year a woman said she looked like Megan Fox and just got dragged by the internet, probably still to this day. Does this gentleman look like Travis Kelce? Was this a Megan Fox situation?
So he didn't say that. He did say he looked like a less buff version of Henry Cavill, which is extremely not true, and it ended up blowing back on him when they met. The way it went down was when the man and the woman who do not look like Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were in the pods, he was revealed that he played football. I think she said she was a cheerleader, and they were like, yeah, we could be like Travis and Taylor. And as the audience, you're watching this thinking, no, now they both have a incorrect assumption about what this is going to look like. The other important thing to note, Stu, is he did play football, but he was a kicker. And he looks like a kicker.
Yeah.
So no Travis Kelce. I was curious because I respect your TV recommendations. You've got me on my favorite comedian is now James Acaster because of you. And obviously you do the Love is Blind podcast. I don't know if you're still doing that. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our newest episode just dropped. Yeah.
How good is this season? Do I need to watch? Because you told me yes the last couple of times, and I believed you, but I was on the edge. I was on the verge of quitting it last season.
I'm enjoying it. A lot of people aren't because there's a lot of really terrible people and terrible
Shocking.
relationships. And I'm if you're listening to this and you're watching and you're not clued into the internet discourse, please don't get mad at me. Cover your ears because I'm about to talk about something. One of the couples that is successful, the man has 3 secret children, and the internet and it came out, and he has said that. I just donated. I was just a sperm donor to like my gay friends. And the internet sleuths have found multiple pictures and videos of him just with these children. So there's this kind of weird
I heard
story.
I heard they had matching jammies on. Can you confirm?
Matching jammies.
What?
Yeah. So you're watching, it's an interesting dynamic, right? When you watch reality TV now, where you watch what's happening on the screen, and then there's also this like subtext playing out off screen. And so you're watching this guy say to a woman, yeah, I don't know if they would recognize me if they saw me. And meanwhile, on Reddit, there's, like Jessica said, videos of him spending Christmas with these kids. So I think that dynamic has put a lot of people off.
That's insane, Mina. What city are these people in? Because I'd like to avoid it.
They're in D.C. It's been a
Something in the water over there.
tough look for D.C., yeah.
Is there anything else, by the way, Chris has no idea who James Acaster is.
That was Joe Biden. I know who he is.
I'm sorry. But if anybody has not paid attention, James Acaster, hilarious. Go watch his repertoire. That's 4 straight stand-ups.
He's great.
He's great.
Folks, stop being pedantic.
Mina, is there anything else that you need to recommend on the streaming services that you're watching lately?
Oh, gosh, yeah. We really liked the season of Bad Monkey. Are you guys watching that? I mean,
Yes.
it's
It was
great.
Miami.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I liked that a lot. I thought that, I know he's right. The guy who created is a friend of the show, right? So,
Yes. Bill Lawrence.
I enjoyed that a lot. I thought it was very smooth. Also on Apple TV, Slow Horses is very good.
It's a lot of seasons of that one. It's a lot of catching up. I do have a Vince Vaughn question because I was watching that movie or that show, and it's based on, I think, a Carl Hyacin book. Isn't he a former Miami Herald
Yes.
guy?
Right, yeah.
And it feels like they wrote it, and then they cast Vince, and then they rewrote it for Vince because he can only play one character,
And
like
I think
one
that
personality.
would be fair. Problem is, when I hear that voice, my own voice starts to mimic that voice
That's what we're
because
going
I'm
for.
like
Yeah.
one of those parrots where if you just play a sound, I'll just talk in the voice of that sound. Yeah, I think he just kind of put his own sauce on it. Like you can tell when you're watching it, he's sort of improvising a little bit. I mean, some of his mannerisms, because he does that like rapid speech thing, right? And I feel like, God damn it, I'm doing it. I just did it.
I
Feel like it'd be fair?
Bill Lawrence did come on the show and talk a little bit about Bad Monkey and said that with Vince Vaughn, he was like, he's one of the easiest guys to write for because you're writing the plot, but because he's ultimately going to do so much improvisation and nail it on so many different jokes, you get credit as the writer for the best jokes, whether you wrote them or not, which is awesome.
That voice.
Mina
Do
at
that
all.
voice.
Yeah, I need you to mock that voice for the rest of the show.
I'm not a trained monkey. I don't take commands.
Bad
Monkey.
Bad
Oh,
monkey.
no, I made
Hey.
the same joke as Jeremy.
Ha! Victory!
Put myself
Even
in the
Mina
penalty
knows.
box.
God.
That's tough. Do you guys remember when we hired the accent coach?
Who?
I do remember that actually.
This was like deep pandemic, maybe.
That was a long time ago, yes. That was a Mike
Yeah,
Ryan production, right? He was like,
It was.
Mina's had so many accents because she lived in so many places. We're going to hire a dialect coach. I remember that.
This is how I spin the accent thing so that I look like less of a sociopath when people, because I don't want to be like the Brian Kelly of the NFL media. When people point out, Stu, you would like this. I say, well, I'm sorry I had to grow up in a lot of places because my dad was in the Air Force. Do you not respect the troops?
Wow.
Oh,
Sorry
that's so
about that.
good, Mina. I'm so proud of you.
And if they don't say thank you for your service on the way out, you should give them another dirty look.
Sorry I didn't have the privilege of growing up in one place my entire life and having one coherent accent.
Got all the good daggers, the trigger words right there. I saw your face, by the way. We went to go do a victory lap here in the gym, and I saw your your face isn't giant, but it was projected giant. Your
It was on a
giant
big
face.
TV. Is what
It was
he
on a
trying
television,
To say.
yes.
That's all he was trying to say, man. A big
Oh.
TV. That's it. Yeah.
Was it?
I saw a giant
At the
television
gym?
with your
Giant
face on
package.
it. How's that?
While I was working out and staying svelte, I noticed your gigantic head. Continue.
And
Holy crap.
what is the one place that you've walked by the most embarrassed,
Oh, no,
other than
I
this
hate
moment
when
right
you
now,
guys do this.
by seeing yourself on a large projection?
Okay, so I've been at restaurants where I'm like one of my shows is on, and it's usually some of the shows are pre-taped on NFL Live, but like Around the Horn. And it's not embarrassing
Yes.
when you're on TV while you're somewhere. In fact, it's kind of cool. It's embarrassing when someone notices you watching yourself on TV.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, television masturbation. Ooh, can we say that? I don't. Anyways,
And I think that would be fair.
It is embarrassing because then you feel like people think you watch yourself all the time.
Right.
And I
you
don't.
look like a narcissist.
I miss those days.
Mina, in your best Southern accent, because you're the natural person to do this, can you say, stay tuned, we've got Pitch Clock up next?
Stay tuned. We've got Pitch Clock up next.
Thank you.
good.
That's the
Well
greatest
done.
tease I ever could have asked
So
for.
good.
Thank you, Mina.
Was that good?
Yeah,
That was great.
excellent.
Not
We
really.
couldn't ask for any more Southern.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that would be fair.
Welcome to the Pitch Clock. Here's the pitch, a two-part baseball segment combining a nostalgic baseball trivia game and an interview with an expert. This is the Pitch Clock. The competition is increasing both in the MLB postseason and here on the Pitch Clock. Chris Cody is with me. Mike Schur is with me. We are about to play Taylor's trivia game. We'll have an expert joining us soon, but this is my focus at the moment because I am sick of losing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Mike Schur is here.
Yeah.
Taylor, what is our actual trivia game for this week?
The game today is 3 strikes and you're out. The lists in front of you are the 9 longest postseason hit streaks in baseball history.
Ooh.
So you have
Oh,
how many
no.
games, the team, and then the time frame that the hit streak lasted until.
This is spectacular.
This is impossible.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
really
I
hard.
don't know how we're going to do this. Chris Cody, you're on the clock.
I'm going to go 2020 through 2021, 16-game hit streak for Jose Altuve.
That's a strike.
Oh, my God.
Was that?
Whoa.
That was what I was going to guess,
I don't
too. Oh, boy, if it's not Jose Altuve. All right. I'm going to go all the way down to the Royals in 2015 and say Alex Gordon.
It was not Alex Gordon.
You feeling good about this game so
This
far,
is
Taylor?
rough.
How you feeling
Yeah, I
so
do,
far about
actually.
this?
This is hard.
I'm like
yeah,
the,
this is really difficult.
the old ESPN show, Stump the Schwab. I want to win.
Mike Schur, you're on the clock.
I mean, Manny Ramirez was the MVP in 04. I'm going to guess in the Red Sox is Manny Ramirez.
The Red Sox with the 17-game hit streak was Manny Ramirez.
Oh, it's so fun.
Great. Manny
All right.
Ramirez. All right, well, so
I'm gonna
Mike
win-
is
I'm
going
gonna
to
win
win.
with one.
Yeah, with one. Mike is going to win. Chris, you're back up.
Talk to me with your eyes,
10
Taylor.
seconds.
I'm going to go with... What year did... Oh, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this.
Need a name.
You need a name. I'm going to give it to you right now, and that name is... Jermaine Dye.
Not Jermaine.
What? In 2000.
Royals. I don't know, man. I don't. This is stupid. I hate this game.
Okay, moving away from the game that Taylor is torturing us with, we have Adnan Virk of MLB Network with us again here on the Pitch Clock with some great baseball coming up today. 2 postseason games, the ALCS and the NLCS. Adnan, thank you for coming back. We're going to dive right into this because the Dodgers and Mets played last night, and the Dodgers absolutely blew out the Mets. Despite Shohei Ohtani moving to now 17 for his last 20 with runners in scoring position and being 0 for 22 in the postseason with nobody on base, a weird stat, I want to start in what seems like a weirder place, which is the gutsy performance of Dodgers pitcher Walker Buehler. Look, he hasn't been the same guy coming off Tommy John surgery for the second time. Against San Diego, he gave up 6 runs in the second inning of his start last night. Looked like we might be headed that way. Bases loaded in the second inning. Struck out back-to-back hitters, including Francisco Lindor. His 18 swings and misses in last night's game,
tied for the most in 4 innings of any start in his whole career, which I thought was spectacular. In the game against the Padres, they were 6 for 10 against him with 2 strikes. He had no strikeouts. Last night, Mets were 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts. He's the first pitcher in MLB history to throw 90-plus pitches in a postseason start of 4 innings or less and not give up a run. There are all these crazy stats on Walker Buehler. How important was a moment like that last night for the Dodgers to see Buehler bounce back that way and to eat up 4 innings on the mound, to save a already fresh bullpen, to have the ability to come in today after a Yamamoto start, a guy who hasn't thrown 80 or more pitches since returning from injury?
I think it's absolutely critical, Jeremy. This guy is so powerful and so vital to the Dodgers' hopes. I've never been so happy to be so wrong, because that's what the beauty of baseball is. Because I felt so confident. I said, oh, my God, the Dodgers, they aren't going to beat the Padres. They don't have enough pitching. And I looked to be right in the first 3 games. I said, clearly, I'm a prophet. Clearly, I know what I'm talking about, having covered and loved baseball for 35, 40 years. And then all of a sudden, the Padres couldn't score after a certain point. Teoscar Hernandez hits a grand slam, 6-5 on. The Padres completely shut down. And bullpen games, that's not going to work in the playoffs for Dave Roberts, because the Dodgers bullpen isn't the Guardians. It isn't the Yankees. Not as good as those guys. Not as good as the Royals bullpen. No, Dodgers bullpen is spectacular. Completely shutting them down. Wow, okay, they beat the Padres. But their pitching will be tested against the Mets, because the Mets starting pitching has been bona fide when it comes to Severino and Minaya and Quintana. But lo and behold, in a game last night, couldn't be more wrong. Their pitching's been awesome. And Buehler last night was fantastic. 2-time Tommy John. He's able to have that kind of gutsy performance in the cold at Citi Field. And nothing better than that at-bat against Francisco Lindor. Like, critical spot, you got guys on. And for him to be able to go fastball, and then set up that great hook. I mean, that is an all-time great curveball by Walker Buehler.
What an unbelievable performance from him. And yeah, that 12-6 curveball working in the wind as the wind is blowing out. Just a guy who completely changed his pitch arsenal from one game to the next. It was so impressive. And the type of performance that you see from the guys who have mastered the craft. And speaking of mastering the craft, how about Kiké Hernandez in the postseason? I want to call him Kiké Pumpkins Hernandez, because he really shows up in October when we don't think about him for the rest of the year. He has 15 career postseason home runs, which I believe puts him like 5th or 6th on the active list. A guy who is now hitting a homer every 13 at-bats in the postseason. During the regular season, that's every 29 at-bats, so just a completely different player. How incredible is what Kiké Hernandez is doing, and how does it change the Dodgers when you can have guys like him and Tommy Edman contributing the way they are at the back of the lineup?
You're going Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, and you go, okay, well, if I can somehow neutralize MVP, we can win this game. But no, because the rest of the depth of this lineup comes through and they can hurt you as well. You say, okay, where's my soft spot? Where can I, as a pitcher, take a deep breath, exhale, and go, okay, now I can loosen up? You can't. Because Kiké is your number 9 hitter, and he's like Reggie Jackson come playoff time. Because Max Muncy had great at-bats last night, and he went deep. Because Teoscar Hernandez is a key part of that lineup as well. And you mentioned Edman, what a great pickup he's been for L.A. And that's really what you've seen here for Dave Roberts' team, is the length in that lineup. You mentioned Kiké and the 15 home runs. How about this? He's tied with Babe Ruth on the most postseason career home runs. Now, it's a little bit ridiculous, because Kiké's done it in 78 games. Babe did it in 41. How about a better comparable? Chipper Jones played 93 postseason games. Kiké, 78. And yet Chipper, 13 postseason home runs. Kiké with 15.
That is insane.
Right? Think about that. Chipper's got 15 more games.
That's
Hall of Famer.
crazy.
No. A-Rod, 76 games. Kiké, 78. A-Rod, 13 playoff home runs. Kiké, 15. And here's a good one for you. And Taylor will love this as a Yankee fan. Because you go, okay, well, compare him to the Yankees. Yogi Berra, 75 career postseason games. Kiké's played 3 more, and Kiké's got 3 more postseason home runs.
It's incredible.
When you're telling me you're at the same amount of home runs as Babe Ruth, more than Miguel Cabrera, Chipper Jones, Alex Rodriguez, and Yogi Berra, you're doing something special. Kiké's been awesome.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to stick with the Astros in that window that you talked about, and I'm going to hope that I'm getting this Astro right. Was the Houston Astro Alex Bregman?
The Houston Astro was not Alex Bregman.
Oh,
that's a second.
Whoa, that's what I would have guessed.
Oh my God.
All right, Jermaine Dye retired in 09.
2 strikes for Chris and I. Mike Schur, if you get a second one in a row, there's a 0% chance any of us wins this game.
I mean, the Yankee 98 to 99
Has to be right.
I'll guess Jeter.
That's what I was gonna say, but I was like, is he playing that?
It was Derek Jeter.
No! I hate my legs. I was just like, I thought that was.
I don't know why you guys were guessing 2015 Royals when the late 90s.
Once he
Yankees
said
were right
Jermaine
there.
Dye, it was very clear he did not watch those Royal teams.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
For the audio-only audience, we have a 20-game hit streak from a Diamondback from 2017 to 2023, a 17-game hit streak from a Yankee from 1956 to 1958. We have the Astro 16-game hit streak 2020 to 2021, a Blue Jay 16-game hit streak 91 to 93, a Royal 15-game hit streak 2015, a Brave 15-game hit streak 95 to 96, and then an A 15-game hit streak 89 to 90.
Why did I not think that Jeter played yet that in the late 90s?
I mean, that was his whole run.
I know. I just had a moment.
I knew.
Oh my God! I know the Diamondback.
Oh, I hate you.
How?
Chris Cody.
I'm up.
Yep.
How am I up? I just did
just got it.
Diamondback, Starling Marte.
Not Starling.
Was he ever a Diamondback?
I believe he was.
Thinking about Ketel Marte.
Maybe.
Jeremy, you're on
now.
the clock.
Yeah, I'm like annoyed at the Diamondback.
I just wanted to get it before Mike Schur. I know that was.
Can I be? I'm gonna go with the Toronto Blue Jay 1991 to 1993. Was it Joe Carter?
It wasn't Joe Carter.
It was not.
Wasn't?
It was not Joe Carter. That's you and Chris Cody striking out on 3 pitches.
Well, but let's move over to the Cleveland Guardians and New York Yankees, because the Yankees have really dominated thus far. And it's in large part thanks to their bullpen. Something that, in July, in August, seemed like a giant question mark for the Yankees. And yet, a .77 ERA for this bullpen in the postseason. Adnan, how does something like this happen? And how sustainable is it for the Yankees as they try to not only win the series against Cleveland, but then potentially go up against, the Dodgers or the Mets, as we just spoke about?
Yeah, I do think at some point, Jeremy, you need to get a little more length from your starting pitching. But you know what? In a short span, I do think it's sustainable, especially when you only have 2 more wins against Cleveland to get back their first World Series since 2009. And then it's a week and a half stretch in the World Series. You can do it. You can ride that bullpen as strongly as you can. I think in a longer series, the more that obviously hitters get to see relievers, you start to gain an advantage. You saw that with Rivera and the Red Sox. So many times they would see Mo, and eventually they could figure things out as best they could against that cutter. As for the Yankees, Garrett Cole, listen, he couldn't even go 5 innings, and they win that game. That shows you how good the Yankees are right now, particularly that bullpen. Weaver's been an incredible story. Nobody can stop Weaver. Now, Ramirez did hit that home run off him in garbage time, so maybe that helps their confidence a little bit. But he's a baby-faced assassin, and Aaron Boone is using him the way Joe Torre would use Mariano Rivera. Like, if it's a 5-out save, he's going to Weaver without question. And here's the other part of that's fascinating is that Clay Holmes has been awesome. Like, even though he gets moved out of that spot, you think, okay, going to hurt his feelings a little bit. No. When you look at all-time players in terms of scoreless inning stretches to begin their career, he's at 14 2/3 innings. Like, Clay Holmes has been awesome in the playoffs. So they're mixing and matching as best they can. And so far, there's been no answer from that Cleveland offense, which has been rather feeble so far.
You got to give Aaron Boone some credit for the way that he's handled it. And maybe Luke Weaver, as a guy that was a starter, is a little more comfortable with those 5-out saves, being able to get up and down, not as locked in to being a guy that just comes in for one clean inning. But Adnan, that said, what do the Guardians have to do starting this afternoon with Matthew Boyd on the mound to be able to make this a series with the Yankees?
Yeah, under the current 2-3-2 format, teams that win the first 2 at home have won the series 80% of the time, 44-55. But Arizona just a year ago, the main thing for me is, again, their starting pitching. Their starters so far, Cobb and Bybee, have combined to allow 6 runs and 14 base runners in 4 combined games so far. They've got to get some length to other pitchers. Their bullpen's covered more than 60% of the club's total innings. Now, he faced the Yankees back on August 20th in the Bronx, gave up consecutive home runs to Soto and Judge in the first inning, gave up 3 over 5 in the third, but he's got to work at least into the 5th. Like, a 5 and dive would be great if he could give them a few innings and kind of ease that bullpen a little bit. And hope that offense steps up. Stephen Kwan's hitting .440 during a 12-game postseason hitting streak going back to 2022, but their catchers are giving them nothing. Bo Naylor 0 for 15, Austin Hedges 0 for 9. They're hitless in 23 combined at bats in the postseason, 9 strikeouts. Those guys have to wake up. Along with Jose Ramirez, they've done a great job of neutralizing him so far.
It's been really impressive to see what the Yankees have been able to do. The Guardians need to get something from Matthew on the mound today, or they'll be saying, oh, Boyd. Huh?
Oh.
You like
Oh,
that one?
shoot.
Even
No,
you
I
didn't
love
like
it.
that one. Even you didn't like that one. If Adnan's not going for it, nobody's going for it. Adnan Virk, thank you so much for joining me today. Hey, if we're talking to you next week, it'll be to preview the World Series that starts next Friday. Cannot wait for this. It's been incredible postseason baseball. Let's head back to our trivia game and see the final results of this torture that, Taylor's putting us through.
I think I know who the Diamondback is.
All right, you want to give us the guess?
But I actually have a better.
You just desperately want to go 3 for 3 and
just run the
show
board.
off because you already win. So you could just guess everybody, Mike, if you'd prefer.
I think the 89 to 90A is Ricky.
It is Ricky Henderson.
Tony's favorite
Okay.
player, Ricky Henderson.
I think Marte is the Diamondback.
It was Ketel Marte.
Yeah.
So I was half credit.
Jeremy said it, and I was like, I don't know why he's not guessing that.
That's a foul tip into the catcher's mitt. So it's still a
Yeah.
strikeout, but you should feel good about the fact that you made contact.
I do.
I would have guessed Bregman for the Astro.
George
I don't
Springer
know.
for the Astros.
It wasn't George Springer.
It's Jordan Alvarez.
Wasn't Jordan
So it's
Alvarez.
Carlos Correa.
It wasn't Carlos
Are you
Correa.
kidding me?
So it was Bregman, what he just said.
It wasn't Bregman.
Who else was on that team?
Those are 5 guys that were great that we just
Wait,
named.
I saw that.
It was Michael Brantley.
Oh,
Fun.
Lord.
Oh my God.
Michael
You feel good about
Brantley.
that? You feel good about
I
that?
hate you for this.
Is the Royal Hosmer?
Alcides Escobar.
Okay.
Oh my
Alcides
God.
Escobar.
Alcides Escobar
this-
hit in 15 straight
This
postseasons.
game,
crazy.
This game is just, hey, think back to random playoffs and who was the hottest hitter on that team for that
1956
2-week stretch?
to 1958 is it Mickey Mantle?
It was Hank Bauer. from
I'm
the
gonna
Yankees
kill you.
in 56.
I
Oh
can't
my
believe
God.
this.
When did Ruth play? Because I almost
The
guessed
Blue
him.
Jay,
Bauer?
Way before that, right? 20s?
The 20s,
Yeah,
late
sure.
20s.
the Blue Jay in 91 and 93 with the 16-game hit streak. Pat Borders.
I've never heard of Pat
I
Borders.
want to punch you in the face.
I'm so upset with you.
And then the final name from the list was the Brave in 95, 96. Marquise Grissom.
Oh, fun.
Wow.
You said this name when you came on today, Mike.
Okay,
I
so
did. I said
Yeah.
Marquise Grissom. That's a joke.
Hold on, let me
I'm
hear.
here.
Mike,
Okay, so
can't
wait.
hurt.
So
I'm here. What am I doing? Marquise Grissom. Gorman Thomas.
this is by far the most random list of
I-
players we've had thus far on the pitch
I
clock.
feel
This
like-
is a ridiculous
I
game.
feel like
Taylor.
I undid all my good trivia work from the previous couple months, like with today's performance.
I like that
Again,
thus
how did none of you take Derek Jeter from 98 to 99? How did you leave that for me?
sometimes we get too cute.
I almost said Scott Brocious.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us
Where's my
on today's
camera?
pitch clock. I guess. Thanks, I guess.
Hank Bauer.
What a pitch clock. Good job.
Wow. Jeremy, I didn't hear about Walker Buehler.
Yeah, you did.
Great. Just great.
You did hear about Walker
No, but
Buehler.
not last night's Walker Buehler.
The worst
I heard
game.
about other Walker Buehler, but I didn't hear about this one. Command on his 2-seam was incredible. His slider and cutter was moving like 4 inches.
this
off.
guy.
It was crazy.
guy
The
knows
worst
baseball.
trivia
Watching
game
baseball.
Taylor's ever put together.
Oh my God, it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
If you ask Walker Buehler, it was probably moving 6 inches. So
Seven,
that was
probably.
a great,
Massive.
that was
Massive package.
massive slider.
great pitch clock. And throughout it, I was wondering to myself why this Halloween stuff was sticking to my phone and my jacket. It is starting to get everywhere, Jess.
I told you so.
Yeah, the little wisps, they do
See?
they do connect to things, and then you have to kind of pull them off, and then they get stuck to you, and then you have to do this with your fingers. But I
Is it
still
worth
like
it?
It's spooky. And I did also notice that when I walked outside, those low-hanging candles that you guys were talking about, they're low enough to hit me in the head.
Whoa. Yeah.
So,
It's a danger, I believe. They're candles, you said. Did your hair catch fire?
no, I'm safe, thankfully.
Do you live in a condo, though? You don't live in a house, so you don't have, like, outdoor decorations. You have
No,
the
and
indoor
You said
house?
too much already.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. You live between 4 walls.
I don't have a yard. I can't put up a 12-foot skeleton. It's bullshit.
But
She
do
lives
you-
in Boca.
Do you do the indoor
Yeah,
decorations,
of course.
though?
I have my little gourds, my little pumpkins, my little string of garland, but that's really it. I don't know.
Have
I
you
can't-
half-assed it this year?
What?
Have you half-assed it this year? Like, was it better in other years?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I want to have all these decorations, but then you need somewhere to put them in the off season, and I just don't have the space for crates full of Halloween decorations. And I'm not gonna like buy decorations and then throw them away because that's a huge waste.
Plus, then you need Thanksgiving decorations and Christmas decorations
right?
and
Like
then
I
summer
haven't.
decorations.
I've never had a Christmas tree before.
You know what I've always
what?
wondered is why we can't. Wait, you've never had a Christmas tree?
I mean, like when I was a kid, but not since I moved out of my parents' house.
So like last year, you didn't have a Christmas tree?
No, I had like a tiny like tinsel thing, but
I'm sorry. So you have not experienced true joy.
I don't have anywhere to put it.
Oh, there's plenty. I mean, look, if you have
space.
4 walls, I don't want to say where. You live in Florida. If you have 4 walls, you can fit a Christmas tree in there.
Amen.
And part of the whole appeal... Actually, is the reason Christmas is at the end of the year. I know it's somebody's birthday, but it's because at the end of the year, you get to celebrate the entire year. And all of that, to me, is about putting up Christmas decorations. I've got a 3-minute video of one year where I did these Christmas decorations. They were off the charts. And if you haven't done that yet, maybe that's why you don't like Miami very much. You haven't experienced Christmas yet.
I never said I don't like Miami very much.
Sorry.
I don't like not being
You haven't had to say it.
You complain about the weather.
Hey,
I
I'm
guess,
still
is the
here,
only
all
thing.
right?
That is true.
Yeah, that is true.
4 years and counting.
Point.
You're still here, but the heat index is too high for you. But okay, can we do this together
I
then?
just want it to be spookier, all right? And we finally made it spooky in here, and everyone's complaining, including me
No,
5
she's
minutes
good.
ago.
All right, we're good.
We can do scary Christmas. Like, this is the thing about Christmas.
Like
There's
Nightmare
all
Before
kinds
Christmas?
of options.
Krampus?
Yes. You can do a spooky Christmas. I'm actually considering...
Nobody does a spooky Christmas.
Everybody does a
Tim
spooky
Burton
Christmas.
did do
Everybody?
it that one time.
Yeah, my ex-mother-in-law loves the spooky
It's
Christmas.
an odd person to
I
call
know,
out.
it's random. I was thinking of doing this
that's why
year
she's
an
an ex.
upside-down Christmas tree.
Is that the
where
deal
you-
breaker? You're like, spooky Christmas? You're gone.
We're done, no.
Too much for me.
But have you ever thought about
How do you
doing
do
it
that,
upside?
though? You, like,
just
drill
sort
it
of-
up into the
Yeah,
ceiling?
you drill it into the ceiling, and it's just a hanging Christmas tree. And
Where do you put the presents?
My
I have a
landlord
rule
would
about
love
drilling
that.
into the ceiling. I'm dealing in one of my bathrooms with like one of these, like, you guys ever deal with this where it's like something's going on up there.
The
Like
stains?
like
yeah.
a little
the
brown
bathroom?
stain.
I have a stain right now. I'm like, it's, like my wife
You have a
goes-
leak in the roof.
And this is me and my wife's like solving the problem. She goes, touch it. Is it soft? And I did, and it wasn't that soft. I'm
No.
like, we got a little time.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, a little time.
I told you
Wow.
the story of my ceiling collapsing in the bathroom. That
Yes, it
I-
scares me now every time I walk by that.
it was
thing in my bathroom.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Can you
Take
see
a
if it's
picture
growing?
of it. Exactly.
I'm
Take
gonna
a
have
picture of it.
The same handyman that helped me a few weeks ago with my toilet.
Adonis.
I'm gonna bring him on over and hey Adonis, can you take a look at that thing for me, buddy? Thank you.
All you got to do is paint it a little bit, and then you won't see the brown.
Yeah,
Zagak.
no, that's exactly what you're not supposed to do because
Yeah.
that's when the ceiling will collapse in on you. Am I right, Roy?
That is correct.
You seem to know things about
Damn
the
you.
house.
I know a little bit.
You change doorknobs and whatnot.
That's right.
I've got a spot above in the ceiling of the guest bathroom, and I just look at it, and I don't even touch it, Chris. I just look at it, and I say, yeah, that's about the same size it was last time. Hasn't gotten any darker.
Eyeball it.
100% how to handle it.
Of course.
It dried up.
Because the other
Bunch of
option,
homeowners
and
in here.
Thank you.
Owners.
The other option here, and this is
A renter.
Speaking of homeowners, this is something that sort of it's at my core here. It just really bugs me. Speaking to neighbors, like man,
The worst.
I don't want to have
Oh,
to do that.
Oh, God.
Like our upstairs neighbors are the ones who are responsible for any sort of leak if it's coming down. And so the first time I knocked on her door and I was like, you got a leak in your bathroom, and she's like, okay, let me see. And I'm like, what? Do you want to come into my house? And so she comes in and she looks at it and she's like, okay, I fix. And she goes back upstairs. And I love this lady, very lovely woman. I don't want to tell her, oh, you didn't do a good enough job. You got to fix it again. And right now, our communications are just, hello, goodbye, have a nice day. That's it. I don't want to get into any deeper conversations. Like, there was a guy who moved in across the hall 6 months ago. I have no idea who he is. Have still not met the man. Am I the only person in the world afraid to speak to their neighbors?
Don't you have a condo association?
Yeah, those people are crazy.
You can tell by the way I say hello to someone if like we don't talk a lot. I just have like hello.
You do a silly
Yeah.
voice if you
Hey,
don't
Greg.
know them.
You do that on Zooms too.
Hey, what's up, Greg?
Like Flounder on Animal House. Hello.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's a whole nother. If you find a Facebook group of the homeowners association,
That sounds
That
scary.
might be the craziest people in the world. We had one guy, and I'm not telling you where I live. It's somewhere in the United States. Yeah, this one
Boca.
guy who is just flat out threatening people now that he's on the board. You're gonna see what happens now that are real. I'm just like, this is unbelievable. It's why I'm not on Facebook. But good Lord, keep me away from homeowners associations.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Ryan, and I want to tell you about two of my favorite things, football and Miller Lite. And when you combine the two, that makes for one heck of a Miller time. See, Miller Lite has great taste, but is also less filling. And football, well, it's just spectacular from start to finish. You put those two things together, you've already carved out a perfect day. Miller Lite keeps things simple with undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips away everything that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that actually tastes like beer. Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and is less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.